I'm Bev Adams. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I'd like to show you this card that I made. I used 4 feathers, the stamp set, and the feathers framelets, which you can get a bundle and save yourself 15%. I also used For You as my greeting. I have a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of baked brown sugar cardstock, scored at 4 1/4 for my card base. I'm trying to repeat a scalloped pattern for this card, and I am using this Irresistibly Yours cardstock that has that scalloped pattern, and I'm using the scalloped border punch. Now this scallop is not exactly the same size as the scallop on the cardstock, so don't drive yourself crazy trying to match it. And if you don't know how to use these border punches, you want to make sure that the cardstock's all the way against this edge, and on this side, match this side with the silver pattern so you're actually covering it up all together. And the more precise that is, the better it will match. And that way you can make a pattern as long as you want. I'm going to go ahead and sponge this Irresistibly Yours cardstock, and I'm using baked brown sugar ink. And there are so many ways that you can color this cardstock. I love this cardstock. I know it's one of those things that you can get for free with every $50 order during Celebration. You can pick one item from the Celebration catalog, and there's 4 more products available that just started this week that you can pick for free. If you want to find out about those, come on over to bevadams.com and you'll see them on my website, or you can go on over to the Stampin' Up. I think that should be posted on the Stampin' Up website. I haven't actually checked just yet. Okay, so you can color this cardstock a number of different ways. You can sponge it like we are. You can color it with your Blendabilities markers. You can spritz it. You can use a brayer on it, or of course you can just use it white if you'd like. I've sponged it, not trying to get an exactly perfect even coat. I kind of like that it's a little bit, has a little bit of variation on it. Now I'm going to temporarily adhere this on my card, just using a little bit of snail on it. I don't want this to be a permanent adhesive, but I want it to stay in one place. And I'm going to use the framelets dies that coordinate with the 4 feathers stamp set. And so I'm going to use the largest feather. It comes with 2. And I'm going to cut both of these. I'm going to open up my card and cut both of these out at the same time with my Big Shot. So I'm using my cut up plate. I'm using my cardstock and the Irresistibly Yours. I'm placing my framelit here. I'm using my less cut up plate on top, and I'll run this through the Big Shot. I'll be right back. And that should cut your 2 layers at the same time. If you're not sure, all of the Big Shots are calibrated just a little bit differently, so you can kind of look at the back and make sure it cut all the way through. If it didn't, run it through a second time before you move it. I can take this piece off now. Now, it may, if you're not careful, tear your cardstock just a tad, but we're going to be covering that up again, so don't worry about it. Be as gentle as you can. If you don't want it to be a permanent hold with the snail, you don't press it down, but of course running it through the Big Shot, you will be pressing it down, so there's no escaping that. Another product that has a scallop look that I wanted to use is the Fancy Fans folder. So I'm going to put the front of my card into my Big Shot. With the folders, you're going to use the regular multi-purpose platform on tab 1. And again, you're going to use the bottom plate, and then your folder, and then a clear plate, and run this through the Big Shot, and I'll be back. And I neglected to point out that I do want my scallops to be going this way so that all the scallops are facing the same way when we're done with our card. And so I've got my scallop. Now I can place this back on and it will match exactly. I don't need to worry about it. With the embossing, just snail probably won't hold your card stock in place, so I think multi-purpose glue is good for this. So I can put that right to match exactly. Shelley Gardner, the CEO of our company, demonstrated a feather that I loved her technique, and so I'm going to use it on this card. But I am doing it a little bit different. She cut out a card, and when I saw that, I pictured this stamp set, and so I'm going to show that to you right now. This is our natural filter paper, and there is a smoother side and a rougher side, and I like to use the smoother side for stamping on. I think you're going to get a better image. And that's large enough to stamp both of these feathers on. And again, I'm using baked brown sugar ink. I'm turning it over under the rougher side, and I'm putting my snail adhesive along the spine of those feathers. And you could do the whole feather if you'd like. It'd probably be a good idea. I'm going to run some linen thread right along the spine, and this filter paper is clear enough so that it's not a problem to see. Now, you do not need to go all the way to the tip of the feather if you don't want. In fact, it probably is better not to. And then close your filter paper, encasing that linen thread inside. And then we're going to cut these out with the coordinating framelits. So again, I'm using the magnetic platform, and I'm wanting to be sure to get the spine of the feather lined up. And line them up on the second one. And notice that I stamped my feathers far enough apart so that the sides of the framelit fit. And cover that up with your plate. And I'm going to run this through the Big Shot, and I'll be back. And these pop right out. And I love the look of these feathers. They are very delicate, but you can kind of see the spine with the light through it, I think. But you can feel that spine, and it just adds so much to this card, I think. The next challenge is going to be to stamp here. I forgot when I put my stamp on this block that I really need to be able to stamp on the very edge of my imaging sheet. I'm left-handed, and this is not very convenient for me. I need to be able to get my fingers out of the way, and I'm actually going to turn this upside down so I can do this a little bit better. I need to be able to have my fingers out of the way of this corner, place my block in the corner of the Stamp-a-majig, and slide it right down. It's not usually so awkward for me because I can place it where I want, but for this card I want that image right on the left side of my imaging sheet. So I'm still working upside down, placing that image right where I want it, placing the Stamp-a-majig in that same corner, placing my block in that same corner, keeping my fingers out of the way, sliding it straight down. And if I've done it all correctly, and I did, my image is exactly where I wanted it. Now this needs to be pretty precise, and I found when let me hold it a different way so it's easy, more convenient. One of the things that happens is we tend to tip the block, and so then when you go to press it down, you're actually moving the block over quite a bit. I'm just going to use a couple of glue dots to place my feathers on the front of my card. And so I'm going to kind of overlap them a little bit with the gap, with the opening. I want all 3 feathers to be kind of lined up near the top. And I want these to be flowing a little bit. So tie a little bow with the linen thread, and then I like to make my bow loops nice and tiny. I don't know, tiny seems to equal cute, I guess. And so I'm going to place this tiny bow with the glue dot. You may have to roll your glue dot a little bit so it is under that knot in your bow. And there's the card front. I think this card would be fabulous for thank you, for a birthday, for a card for men, a card for women. I just love this card. And so for my workshop, I put out For You, which has several choices. And I think I'm going to just use, birthday wishes, because that seems to be what I need more than anything. And so I'm going to press birthday wishes up here in the corner. And there's my card. Thank you for stopping by. If you would like the detailed directions, come on over to bevadams.com and there'll be the supply list. And talk to you soon.